Hello YouTube. I am doing some dialing in on the DERP 3550. I'll show some print close-ups and stuff, and then try to dive into all the things that are wrong and need improvement. Trying just a calibration test cube and some black Overture PLA. Had the baby stepped it up a hair, but I seem to be getting a good first layer here. That gyroid infill does not look sinusoidal to me. And I also noticed that on the first couple of layers, the rectilinear infill didn't look perfectly straight. There was some little bit of variation in there. Maybe I'm just reading into things, but I seem to remember this infill pattern looking more sinusoidal on the Prusa. I've also noticed that the Z-hop, which I have set pretty low, like just one layer worth, 0.2 millimeters, I've noticed that that sounds pretty harsh when it re-engages, almost like the nozzle is tapping the print. So I'm thinking I might have some flex somewhere in the system. So there's a few possible sources of flex in here. One is the belts, obviously. So maybe these belts are terrible, or I just don't have enough tension on them. I just used thumb tension, pressing down on this bracket like this before I tightened it. So maybe that's not enough. Or something else I'm thinking is, because Z-hop usually happens when you're also doing a retraction, I might have a little bit of slop where this PTFE tube is clipped in here. Yeah, if that connection is not tight, then there could actually be some movement in the PTFE tube during retraction and extraction, which will of course change the amount of weight at the effector, which would slightly change the Z height. And there could also be some flex in this counterweight string up here too. Yeah, I guess there's lots of things that could be tightened up. But at least this is looking like a usable print, even though it's not perfect. We'll see how it turns out. I can safely say it's better than a handheld glue gun. Far from perfect. So at this stage, the DERP can sort of print. I guess that's a small victory. So when I was doing some of my initial layer testing before this, I noticed that just the weight of this build plate on here is not good enough. Like, it needed to be really centered, just in case anything catches or just the vibration. So I've got two of these pucks, and then I put a wedge in on this side just to center it and keep it tight. That's also not good enough. The vibration kind of backed this wedge out a little, because this is heat-treated PLA, which is quite hard, so it's not biting in very much, and it doesn't have very much spring to it. So I'll have to redesign that to make a better clamping mechanism, or I'll just eliminate the removable build plate and put tape down on the heated bed and try to print on that directly. That would definitely eliminate some variables from this early testing here. And this is my first foray into printing on blue tape like this. Some of my initial testing just trying to get the first layer dialed. I was doing on glue stick on the aluminum, and that seemed pretty finicky. Not very forgiving and very hit or miss. So now that I've tried this, I understand why people like this method, and I also understand why people don't like this method. So it's cheap, easy to apply, and you can definitely do several prints on it if you're careful. And it's pretty forgiving in terms of first layer, which is great. And the adhesion with PLA and PETG at least seems pretty good. But the downside is that some stuff can be actually very hard to remove. So like this for example, I mean, I'm tweaking on that pretty hard with my hand. So I'm gonna have to pry up from the corner and then maybe give it a sharp impact with a small hammer or something to get it to pop off. Otherwise I'd be prying up tape and doing stuff like that. So yeah, this method definitely has its pluses and minuses. All right, so let's check this thing out here. So each of these axis legs are 20 by 20 millimeters. So that's in Z, 20.1. I guess this would be in X here. And then let's do Y. So not bad. Not bad in terms of overall dimensions on these three legs, and then the length of each one's 50. So not terrible in terms of overall dimensions. Pretty happy with that in terms of overall. I mean, if we were missing tons of steps or something, then certainly the height would have been way off. But yeah, we're not that far off there, which makes me think that most of the imperfections I'm seeing on here were a result of the build plate moving around a little bit, and then of course flex and stuff somewhere in the system. Now, not sure if you'll be able to see this. So on this infill here on the top, you can kind of see what I was seeing during some of the real early layers, where in the middle of this, it's pretty straight. But when you get toward this edge over here where it had to change direction suddenly, it's not quite so straight. There's definitely some sort of ringing or flex going on. So like when it has time to calm down here in the middle, it's tracking where it's supposed to, but rapid change in direction is causing some sort of, you know, oscillation. And I'm not sure if there's like a good name for this effect. And then somewhere else, yeah, some other videos and things I've seen about tuning and dialing in, there was some mention of pressure advance as well, where if you're getting material buildup here at the edges, you can adjust pressure advance, which will hopefully make it so there's less buildup at the edge. But that's actually not too bad on this print here. Just a little bit, not a ton. But it is definitely rougher out here at the edge. But yeah, in terms of these imperfections here, I mean, a couple of these are definitely where the build plate was moving around. And some of these others, I thought I had it locked down pretty good, but I still got what looked like a layer shift, and then it seems to have corrected. So I don't know, especially this one up here, I'm not sure if that's from the build plate moving around or if that's from something else shifting temporarily and then going back. But definitely need to try to get some more of the slop out of the system to improve on this. That's all I got for now. Thanks.